Uh,
Hey everyone, how you doing? We're here with another episode Behind the Doors. I believe this is our fourth episode, so I appreciate everyone who's coming back. As you can see, we got a different panel today. We got some real hustlers out here representing PA heavy, heavy today. So before we get into the topics, I'm gonna let them introduce themselves first, and we're gonna start it off that way. If you want to start off, Zay.
what's going on, world? Isaiah Williams here. Everybody call me Zay. I've been in the real estate game for 6 years now. I'm in multiple markets. In the Pennsylvania market, northern PA. I'm in the Georgia market. I invest in New Jersey and also New York. My strategies: I buy and hold real estate, and I also fix and flip properties.
Cool, cool, cool. So I'm Calvin Cannon Jr., also known as the business of real estate coach. I've been doing real estate for 35 years and counting. My market is the Philadelphia area. I'll flip anywhere, I'll flip on the moon if I need to, as long as the numbers make sense. My system and strategy that I utilize is buy, flip, hold, with debt resolution and profit strategies.
And what's going on, guys? My name is Benito. Also in the Philadelphia market. Been doing this for less than 3 years, utilizing the Burr method and moving into flipping this year and new construction, ramping up this year. So, um, yeah.
All right, cool, cool, cool. So everyone knows who the players are. Once again, we're going to have a discussion on real estate investing, the good, bad. Hopefully we could get all that out in this particular episode. So let's just start off with the first question I got written down. What's a deal that you almost didn't do, but ended up being one of your best deals? So if anyone wants to start off with that particular question, don't make me pick you out. Let's go ahead and let's be proactive. Let's go.
Yeah, I'll start it off. I'd say the first deal is probably like the scariest deal, right? Like, you're probably very fearful. It's a lot of money on the line, that you're not used to. And for me, it was a lot of money on the line. Putting all the money that I saved up on this one deal, so it was pretty scary. But you know, it had to be done, right? Like that one deal led to many other deals. I wasn't necessarily like super profitable on that first deal, but I learned what I needed to learn to move on to the next one. And so I was hesitant. I almost pulled out, but I got through it, and that led to a lot more. So that's my first thing.
So, Benito, you said it was your first deal and you talked about the money. You ain't drop a number or anything, but I think that's good for some people to hear. Not saying you got to drop the actual number. What was it like? Was it a burr? Was it a single family? Like, let's get into a little bit more details about that.
Yeah, so it's a Burr deal. I was doing a full gut duplex conversion and paid $68,000 for the property. I was projecting to spend like 120 for the renovations, and I think I ended up spending closer to 140. Had some plumbing issues on the exterior that ended up running over. Didn't know how to navigate that per se, like as I should have. And I would say in terms of what it appraised for, it appraised for like right at 270, like maybe shy of 270. And so in terms of a burr, it's not necessarily like your first, like you don't want to be leaving money in a deal. And I had to leave some money in that deal, a good amount. And so, it wasn't like a perfect burr, but it got me started, and that's what I appreciate.
And then look where you are now. So it was the first one, knock that one out of the way. You may have not gone the way you wanted, but you were able to execute it. And how many birds have you done after that? You know what I mean? I think that most times that's the biggest push, getting your first one out of the way. Would you agree, disagree?
No, 100%. Like you just got to put in your reps. The more reps you have, the easier it is to systematize it. The more risk you're willing to take, the more things you've been through, and it's just about iterating and getting better every deal.
Would you say that deal's middle of the pack, one of your best, or
Not the best in terms of numbers, the best in terms of experience, you know? So I sometimes I like I'm big on like taking risk on things that are going to give you experience. So it doesn't necessarily mean like dollar amount, but if it's going to get you to where you want to get to, I'd rather take those deals all day, right? Like right now, I'm constantly challenging myself, like get into higher luxury flips, getting into new construction, high-end new construction flips. Those are all challenges that I haven't been through, but I'm willing to go through them. And I'm not looking for the highest dollar amount in terms of profit, but I know like that's going to lead to more. And so that's what I'm after.
Nah, dope, dope, dope. Calvin, you've been in the game. I know you got a few of these. Talk to me.
Yeah. So I would say one of my most challenging deals. Um, First deal was probably coming out the gate using my own money, not being educated enough about OPM. My first deal, I used a stipend check, um, and I didn't have any money, didn't have any experience, didn't have any contractors, didn't have nothing. I just knew that I wanted to do real estate, not so much because of real estate, but I wanted to do real estate because I wanted my independency and my freedom. So when I got that property, I paid cash for the property, didn't go through no title company, didn't get no title insurance, didn't know contractors to do the work. I was trying to figure it out myself. Wasn't no YouTube back then, wasn't no Instagram back then. It was AOL and MySpace, and not too many people out there was talking about real estate, right? So got the property, held the property for a couple years. I lived in every unit of the property. I fixed it up myself. I mean, I was doing electrical work with duct tape, black electrical wires. I was nervous because I didn't know what I was doing. Then I had a squatter move in on one of my floors. This was actually a quad too that I'm speaking of. I came home one day, a squatter was living on one of my floors. Didn't have a renter's license, didn't know how to get rid of a squatter. So I spent a lot of money learning. I was still working a 9 to 5 job, so it wasn't hurting me too bad. But a lot of my money I was dumping into this particular property, which became a money pit. Picked up the property for 5,000. Roughly, I probably put in it maybe like 35,000. But back then, 35,000 was a lot of money, and I didn't have it. Um, had to fight the squatter situation, had to hire an attorney, charged me $1,500, $2,000 for that. It was a lot going on back and forth. I eventually just took a step back and just said to myself that I want to learn this business the right way. So took myself back to school, got my business degree, took myself to real estate school, got my real estate license, and I picked up a mentor. I picked up a mentor, a gentleman by the name of George Anderson. And he still mentors me today. I learned how to navigate through those lessons, and not get stuck. But I was afraid. I got a property, didn't know what I was doing. My money was spent. Every paycheck, I was dumping money into this property until I learned about OPM. So, that was my horror story, but turned out to be my best property. I sold it, picked it up for 5, sold the property for over $100,000. You know what I mean? Made a nice 6-figure check, and then I never looked back.
Dope, dope, dope. So you ended up selling it.
Mhm.
So you talked about purchasing it, and you said this was before YouTube. So I can't even imagine jumping into real estate and not having a source to go to other than going to the library or,
Yeah.
by the luck, someone who's in the game. First
Mhm.
and foremost, what got you to even purchase that? I mean, it was
Mhm.
$5,000, but still, that's a good chunk of change. What even got you to purchase real estate at that time?
I mean, my family was all entrepreneurs. My dad owned 2 funeral homes, 2, 3 bars and some clubs. My mom, she was a 9 to 5, but she still was, had daycares and things of that nature. My family was very, very strict. I had to be in when the street light came on. You know what I'm saying? So buying that property was my freedom. It was my independency. It wasn't about the real estate at that time. It was about just being able to get out and not being having to be in a house 8:30, 9 o'clock because the street light came on. So
Mhm.
I wanted to get away to have my own freedom. Why I bought it is because the money was there. So not from me having the money, but I sourced the money from another direction, which I guess was OPM, but at the time I didn't know it. So it was a college stipend check from me going to Temple University. And anything to get out of my parents' house to be able to stay up to 1, 2 o'clock in the morning, I was taking that shot. So that was the reason why I got that property.
Ah, dope, dope. Now, key thing that you said, after everything going on with that particular properties, I was going to ask you if you held on to it, but it
Mhm.
looks like you held, how long did you hold that property for?
For about a year and a half to 2 years.
Okay. The biggest thing that I pulled from what you said is you got that and you knew that you weren't 100% ready. You took the leap of faith, but you
Mhm.
weren't ready. You ended up getting a mentor, George Anderson.
Yes.
Yep. So let's talk about that real quick. Getting a
Yeah.
mentor and how important. I know you tend to talk about this a lot online. So let's talk about getting a mentor and how important it is.
Oh man, getting a mentor changed my life to be very transparent with you. A lot of times people think that they can just watch videos and free 99 to death, but you really can't. And when I got my mentor, he didn't really want to take me on. I was cocky, arrogant back then. I was young, just thought I knew everything. You couldn't really tell me nothing, and he flat out told me that I was doing real estate wrong. And I didn't listen, but he showed me and proved it to me. I lost a lot of money not having a mentor, trying to bumping my head, trying to figure it out. People say that I'll always say this statement that you're either going to pay to learn real estate or you're going to do real estate, learn and pay. So
Mm,
the way somebody getting paid,
mm,
right? So I'd rather pay somebody who's going to give me the information and give me the not so much a shortcut route because I'm not looking for no shortcuts, but I am looking for routes that have experience on them. I'm looking for somebody who did where I'm trying to go, who laid out that platform where I can just follow their instructions and do things my way, but at the same token feel secure and confident on the things that I'm executing. So mentorship is extremely important. You just got to know the difference between a coach and a mentor. You know what I
mhm,
mean? Some people don't know it, right? And the difference is, your coach is going to give you the information and the education, right? It's like a college lesson. That's a coach. Your mentor, that's experience, right? George been in the game 20 plus years before me. So, first he became my coach, gave me the instructions that I needed, the information, but then he became my mentor. And then becoming that mentor for me was huge. It
mm.
was huge. So a lot of people just got to know the difference between a coach and a mentor and know where you are in your journey and which one to choose.
Nah, no, it's fine. So taking the leap is one thing, but being prepared taking the leap is even a bigger thing. So
Mhm.
making sure you got your ducks in a row. No, I feel you on that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah.
Zay, talk to us.
Probably my second
I'll
deal.
let you go last so you can get everything
Oh,
in order. Yeah, go ahead.
it's probably the most say one that stood out. I bought my first deal 3 months before. When I first bought my first deal was during COVID, so times was scary. Um, so I was still working on my first deal. This deal comes up on the market. It's a short sale. So again, I was a little skeptical about buying it, and like Calvin mentioned, you got mentors, and in my head, you also have advisors. So everybody at the time, family members, friends, they telling me, Jose, slow down. You're moving too fast. You really don't know what you're doing. You just got this one property. Wait, sell that first. I'm like, okay. And that's something I realized, even to touch on with Calvin, it's like you have a lot of advisors out here. People giving you advice that never done what you're trying to do or tried to do what you tried to do and failed at it. So very important to know the difference between the mentors and advisors. So again, I canceled out the noise, ended up buying this property. It was a condo for 185,000.
Mm.
Again, interest rates were great back then. So I said, you know what? I'm gonna slide into this, live here for a year. Interest rate 1.99% at the time.
Mm.
So I moved in there, doing my work, busting my ass in there. So I could curse on here, Gus.
Of course.
Oh,
There's no
I'm
limitations on
busting my
this.
ass doing the work. It was like a $15,000 to $20,000 rehab. So again, I think it appraised at like 250 at the time. But I still actually have it to today. Now it's worth like over 400,000, and it's
Mm,
one of my highest cash flowing properties in my portfolio right now. So thank God I didn't listen to those advisors that wasn't doing what they're doing and giving me all this advice to slow down, don't do it. You're making a mistake, you're not gonna learn to something go wrong.
mhm.
And it's like, you really gotta listen to those mentors, people that's doing what you're doing and is successful at it. Because a lot of people, even that try to do what you do and fail at it, will discourage you.
Mm,
For
that's
sure.
all facts. And I don't think family members are trying they're not trying to, they don't want you, I don't think they don't want to see you succeed. I think, they got the fear within them and they're pushing that, on the next person.
Exactly.
And then, you're supposed to be hearing them go, like, go ahead, you could do it, but that's not what
Yeah.
they're saying.
Uh,
So that's one of the biggest reasons, I think communities are big, being with like-minded people. For me, doing stuff like this with you three, you might just be thinking you're on a podcast, but this is what keeping me sharp, being hearing these stories and making me, I might turn this joint off and be like, yo, I need to get another property. What can I go ahead and do? But let's talk about that. So your first one is a condo. You got HOA fees with that?
so it was a second
Oh,
property.
second one. I'm
I
sorry.
was dealing with a flip at the time
Okay,
with
okay,
a burr
okay,
that
okay,
ended up being a flip like a year later. So that was like 3 months later. It was
okay,
COVID and the deal came up. And
okay.
that's
So it was a condo.
yeah.
Did it have HOA fees?
Yeah, the HOA fees were $40.
Okay, a month?
Yeah, $40.
Okay. Yep. And then you brought it for 185, you said?
Yep.
And the rehab
185.
was how much?
It was like 20,000. 15 to
20.
20,000. Let's go with 20,000.
Okay. And then where was this, if you don't mind me asking?
This was in Orange County, New York, in Monroe.
Oh, nice, nice. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Let me ask you this. Being because your first property, you're thinking about flipping and whatnot. This one is a long-term hold. You still have it right now. Let's talk about renting it. When you finally got it all done, how was that process for you?
So that was good. When I finally got it all done, I lived there for about a year.
Okay,
Then
so
I
you lived
moved.
there. Okay.
Yeah. And then I decided to rent it. So when I rented it first, I started doing Airbnb
Hmm.
because a lot of, it was Lego land up there. They just built Lego land. You got the apple picking, pumpkin picking, all that stuff. So it was getting booked out
Hmm.
crazy every month. And then what I learned in anything in real estate, right? You gotta learn to adapt and pivot. The town got wind of it and put an ordinance in and then stopped Airbnb. So they sent me like a $10,000 fine. I was actually able to talk to the town. They said, listen, just take it down. We'll waive it. So then I started doing like medium term
Hmm.
rentals.
Midterm.
So
Okay.
midterm, I'm sorry,
Yeah.
yeah. So minimum 30 days, like 6 months. So I had traveling nurses, people on here on work contracts. And then I just transitioned to renting it long term at this point now. But the
Good,
medium
good.
term was good. It was just a little tough, like the construction work and the thing. They was trashing the place, man.
Let me ask you what, that wasn't your first one. Let's go to your first one. What made you buy the first property? Like, how did you get where you are? What made you put money down to buy that first one?
So I was surrounded, my family. Well, I said my uncle, he was in the real estate game, so he was more of an agent. But like growing up, he always school us, me and my friends, like, listen, passive income, learn how to make money work for you.
Dang.
So I mean, when I graduated high school, he got me the book Rich Dad Poor Dad. I'll
Mm.
be honest, I didn't read it. It was money in the back. Right? I took the money out the back of the book, threw it down. I'm like, yo, Unc, like I graduated, you got the 650 drop top Beamer at the time.
Mm.
All that for the weekend. I want some Gucci, I want some Louis. And then 3 years later, I read that book, and that book changed my whole mindset. Right? It don't teach you how to get rich, but just the mindset shift and how
Hmm.
to make money work for you. Neither dad in the book was poor. Um, so after reading that book, I figured one of the ways where I can make passive income, and don't get me wrong, it's not all passive. If I sat here and said, oh, it's super passive, I'd be lying. But I
Hmm.
figured one of the ways I can learn how to make money work for me would be through real estate. So
Dope.
that led me to buying my first deal. It took a while. I was scared to fail, just taking that leap of faith. I wish I would have done it sooner, but eventually jumped into it and did it.
And now you're here. And the key
Yeah,
thing I heard was it took you about 3 years to read that particular book for you to change your mindset. So I got a
yeah.
question for everyone. Is it what's more dangerous for an investor, taking too long or going too fast as an investor? And anyone
Mm,
can step up and answer
Mm.
I think, oh, go ahead, Calvin. You got the floor. You got the floor.
I mean, they both dangerous. They both dangerous. Moving too fast can be dangerous because you don't have directions, right? Information without instructions is dangerous, right? But moving too slow, you miss opportunities. So sometimes you got to pick your poison. Um, Me coming out the gate, if I had to do this all over again, I'm moving fast,
Hmm.
right? Because you already gonna make you already gonna hit some roadblocks. The slower you move, you're gonna get, analysis paralysis. You're gonna get all this information, but you're going to be, overwhelmed on how to execute it. You're gonna get afraid. So I'd rather move fast and then pick up the pieces along the way versus sitting back playing with my fingers and watching everybody else win while I'm studying and I'm reading. Yes, I might come off a little bit more effective, but guess what? With you reading to get started on Monday, I'm executing Tuesday through Friday.
Mm.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, both of them have advantage and disadvantage, but for me, I'm putting my foot on the gas pedal. I'm going.
Well,
Yeah, I
Zay, what you
definitely
think?
would agree with Calvin. I mean, you definitely got to be careful moving too fast, but I'm a big component, right? Just, kind of taking action. And I'm a big believer in, failure is the key to success. The quicker you fail, the faster you learn. So you
Yeah,
have
like
the opportunity to do something, right? You in your 20s, that's what I tell people now in their 20s. Don't wait till you're 40. And then now you want to start investing or doing whatever you wanted to do in life. And now you're failing at this, age. There's nothing wrong with it, but
Mhm.
the sooner you get into it, right, the faster you learn. It's like touching a hot stove, right? Would you rather touch a hot stove when you're 50 years old, lean up on that stove and get burnt, or you touch it when you were a kid and now I know what this could do to me.
Oh shoot, yo, Zay, you got bars. You got bars. Benito, talk to me.
Nah, I mean, I would say go fast.
Mm.
Go fast and iterate often. Like that's been my methodology. Just iterate after each project. See where you're doing good and where you're not. Where's your weaknesses? Where's your strength? And you know, I feel like what I agree to what Zay said. Like you're not always going to be young. So if you're young, use your energy now, and then you can always have the option to slow down. But prices of houses are only going up. Construction costs are only going up, right? So, like the houses I bought 2, 3 years ago, they're not existent now, right? They've gone up in price, and so just take advantage when the opportunity is there. So, I'd rather go faster.
No, I definitely agree with that. If you don't mind me asking, uh, Zay and Benito, how old are you? Both of you, both of you two.
I'm 30.
33.
All right. So
30, yeah.
yeah, for me to just and Cal, I'm not going to ask you because you said when you first started it was before AOL, so I got a number. But here's what I will say. I'm with going fast also. And with my story is I got investing at 35. So I felt like I was a knucklehead all the way till I was 35. And I watched so many people eat. And I was on the sidelines, working a 9 to 5, getting hyped off a 3% raise I was getting and all that other nonsense. So you guys did it a lot younger than me. You know what I mean? So um when it was time to go and it was my turn, I said, fuck it, we're gonna do everything possible. I came out the gate selling, I sold 50 houses, then I sold 71 houses, then I sold 100. So then I got the bread. I ain't never seen that much bread in my life. And not saying I was a multi-millionaire or nothing like that, but I never seen that much bread. So what I did at that point is I got scared because I got scared. I was like, yo, what if all this shit one day is gone? I need to go ahead and put this into something else. The more investors I spoke to, the biggest thing that they told me is buy now, and in the future, that's going to be those properties you have, they're going to be worth more. So I was like, all right, I'm gonna buy as many as possible. And this is COVID around the same time Zay was invested.
Mhm.
So 2020, I brought my first 5 unit. 2021, I went stupid. At least bought, 6, 7 buildings that year. And people think I was just buying buildings just to buy it. And that actually gets me upset because I was underwriting all my joints. I knew just working with investors, the more properties I was able to execute the right way and buy them right, rehab them right, that in the future, these things are going to be worth more money. And by the luck of God, I brought those at the right time because all of them had forced appreciation come because of what happened with COVID. So now a property I brought back then that was 280, that joint well over 550 right now. And
Mhm.
only thing I did was purchase it, fix a little joint up, rent it out, kept it moving. and I didn't want to wait for no one. You know, I think a lot of times in this game, you can go at your own speed. So if you're a quick hustler, and I say hustler, you know, I'm in Maine. People don't like the word hustler, but if you're a quick hustler and you could adapt quick, go ahead and do that shit. It's too much money out here in real estate to fall back. That's just my thoughts. When I get around people who are a little bit slower, I'll help you out. You know, I'll give you the information that you need, but I'm trying to surround myself with savages because if you surround yourself around savages, you're going to go ahead and continue to be a savage. Me and Benito have plenty of conversation. Benito's a beast. So I like talking to him every day, learning new things about what he's doing. So those are things that I could potentially implement on my end. So with that particular question, I do go with faster also. I don't think anyone picked a slower. So let me ask this next question. Do you think having too many doors is a disadvantage? Because sometimes we hear, yo, you know how people introduce themselves, yo, I got 1,000 doors.
Yeah.
Really, the motherfucker really got like 1% ownership in those 1,000 doors. But I'm talking like legit doors. So people, they got X amount of doors. We'll say over 50. Do you think that that's an advantage or a disadvantage? I'll let anyone go from there.
I think that really depends. I guess if you focused on quantity over quality, maybe. And I even found myself getting caught up in that, investing at a young age, right? That introduction, oh yeah, I got 30 something doors. And then I realized that sometime, right, quantity is not always good over quality. And even recently, I had to go look at my portfolio and do a little fixes here and there. Like, listen, this ain't really making no sense. It sound cool. I'm in a room with a bunch of, at a meetup, and people automatically assume, right? Oh, 1,000 doors. This guy's crushing the game. And I had to really sit down and have a deep talk with myself. Like, you got to slow this down and reevaluate what you're doing and maybe focused on, quality over the quantity at this point, because I'm losing money on some of these properties at the end of the year. And I think a lot of people should also do that too with their portfolio. Like, do that numbers breakdown. Like at the end of each year, I sit with my accountant. Sometimes I get a reality check and he'll tell me, like, listen, you losing crazy money on this. You need to figure this out or let this go. So I think that could be an issue when it comes to having too many doors sometimes. But everybody, has their own thing.
You on mute? You on mute?
What do you think,
Me?
Calvin? Yeah.
Oh man, less is more.
Ooh,
Mm.
Less is more.
you sound like Benito. Yeah,
Yeah,
go ahead.
so one thing that I learned the hard way, first and foremost, syndicated deals is trash. So, just because somebody say they got a 200 unit apartment building or a 300 unit apartment building, oh, all my units is under one roof. A lot of syndicated deals is exactly what you started off saying. You're getting a quarter of a percentage with 30, 40, 50 other people on those deals. They trash. They trash. And there's no disrespect to anybody that pushes syndicated deals. I just know from experience they trash. The next thing is that it sounds sexy to say that you got 100 doors. It sounds sexy to say I got 150 doors, right? But just like Isaiah said, is quality over quantity, right? When I had over 150 doors, guess what? I was losing money.
Mhm.
I was losing money, right? So less is more. I'm a firm believer that when you have quality doors, I can have 30 quality doors that can outperform somebody with a 50 door package. And the reason is because a lot of people don't understand buy, flip, hold with debt resolution. And a lot of people don't understand profit strategies. When I first got into real estate, I wasn't taught that either. So I was running. I was like, I want 200 doors. I want 250 doors. And I was running. I was buying everything smoking. I started in 91.
Damn.
So I'm buying everything smoking. 2008 kicked in. Boom, we got hit with the bank bubble, and a lot of people think that it was the investors that did that. That was in 2008 wasn't the investors.
That was the bank, right?
Huh?
That was the bankers?
2008 was the bank. So back then, the bank was trying to compete with DSCR loans and hard money. So what they did was they came out with this system where they'll give any and everybody a mortgage with a balloon payment. They didn't care about your credit score. And they said that within 10 years that you're going to get a balloon payment. So what they figured in their mindset was the average person stays in a home between 5 and 8 years. So if we give them a 10-year balloon, they'll either probably sell the property or they'll figure out how to come up with the money to pay the balloon. Well, guess what happened when the balloon payment came around? Everybody had to sell. So most people just walked away from their properties, and the investors came in and actually saved everybody in 2008. They didn't ruin people, but people got it misconstrued in their head. It was the banks of predatory lending who collapsed the market in 2008. So when I've been through that, and then we got COVID. During COVID, I probably picked up about 30, 40 single family homes. Everybody thought I was crazy. They thought I was crazy. They was like, why are you buying all these single family homes? Guess what? We went through COVID. I picked up single family homes at 4% DSCR loans. It was unheard of to get a DSCR at 4%. Conventional, yes, but DSCR, 4%, I was buying everything smoking. 2 years after that, those single families are now my flips. So I'm always going to survive in this real estate business because I know how to take a property, carry it for a year, put it on a market, because your number one retail sell in real estate is a single family home.
Yeah,
You got more single family buyers than you have commercial buyers. Then you got a duplexes, triplexes, quad. It's not that they're investors, or you might now and then get a batch of house hackers. But the number one buyer in the world is a single family home buyer. So when you understand that, you know that, yeah, I'm gonna run to the bank and I'm going to get the money for this property. But eventually, you can't keep going to the bank because you're building up this debt. Now, people are like, oh, yeah, but good debt is better than bad debt. It is. But if you got debt resolution and I'm bringing down this debt and I'm bringing up my rents and my cash flow, I'm always going to win. So less is always more. I always say, figure out what your minimum cash flow goal is, stop at that number, then go back and combat the debt, knock the debt down. So now your cash flow is going through the roof and you don't got to deal with so many doors. When you hear people say, I got a 50 unit apartment building, it can outdo your single family homes. But you're not comparing apples to apples. If you got 50 units underneath one roof and I got 50 single family homes, I promise you I'm a cash flow better than you. And when it's time to get rid of that 50 unit building, guess what? You got to force appreciate. You got to make sure your cap rate is right, and you got to find the right buyer. My 50 single family homes, I'm just selling them. I'm selling them. I don't got to find a buyer. The buyer got to find me.
they all got equity. They all got
And you got
equity in them.
equity. Less is more. Always less is more. Less
Uh,
is more.
so let me ask you, because Zay brought this up. He said he spoke with his accountant and he did a portfolio review just to see where things were. Is that something you do every year, or is that something you do monthly? How do you go about that, Calvin?
I like Zay. I do something called a property performance analyzation every 30 days.
Mm.
Not waiting 90. I'm not waiting every month. I'm not waiting every quarter. I'm not waiting every year. I do this every 30 days. Here's the reason why. Your property is a foam cup. At some given time, people are going to poke it, whether if it's the tenant, whether if it's the taxes, whether if it's the insurance, right? Whether if it's the maintenance, right? People are going to poke your cup. If you wait a quarter, or if you wait, to the end of the year, your cup is already exposed. So every 30 days, I do something called a property analyzation spreadsheet, and I'm looking at my numbers. I'm resolving my issues by the following month. If that property is not performing, guess what? We're getting in position to get rid of that asset, take the proceeds from that, run it through a profit strategy, 1031 exchange, IUL life insurance, take the money out for that, because now my money's working twice, right? If I flip a property, I make 50,000, I put it in the IUL. Now the IUL is compounding 9, 10, 11, 12%. I pull it out the IUL, and now I'm going to buy my hold. My 50,000 worked twice. Most people 50,000 is working once. So now when I realize that property is not performing, I got to get rid of it. I got to go find me a property or an asset that's going to perform. So I'm doing this every 30 days like clockwork. I do that every 30 days, and I walk all my properties out every quarter. So every 90 days, every property gets foot traffic for me to walk it out. Every 30 days, I'm on my spreadsheet and I'm analyzing every door every 30 days. Like it's a business. You got to run it like a business.
Oh, we might have to go back to that
Calvin.
IUL. We might have to go to that IUL play you just said. We might have to go back to that. But I want Benito, I want to give you a chance to answer that question. With the door situation, is a lot too much sometimes?
Um, I mean, I think it's everyone's personal like journey, real estate journey. I've never knocked people for having like a lot of doors. And I don't knock people for like putting a limitation on the doors and kind of going like Calvin route, like what he just said. You know, that's my kind of approach. Like I wanted to work fast, get the doors quickly, build them right. But then I can coast, not coast, or kind of pull it back a little bit, slow down a little bit. I'm big on just making sure like you're able to enjoy your family, right? Like I'm not trying to get doors just to get doors to make more money to give me more headaches, and I can't enjoy. You know, the reason why we doing this is for financial freedom, for time freedom,
Mhm.
and for me to say like I'm gonna go and just keep going with no end in sight and not enjoy my family. I'm just not about that. Like I want to enjoy the fruits of my labor, and I want to enjoy my kids while they're young. And so that to me is more important. So I would prefer less doors, higher, higher quality, and like Calvin said, like figure out a way, with your flips or however you want to, and start resolving that debt so that you can bring in more cash flow.
Okay. So with the amount that you've already purchased in a short period of time, do you think you're done, or do you think, what avenue are you going at right now, Benito?
So me, I'm gonna continue to buy, but I'm not buying at a rapid pace anymore. You know, like I've gotten to the point where like, okay, I'm okay. You know, I got just under 30 doors in the last 2.5 years. They're all newly rehabbed, having minimal issues with them. But I'm building my reserves, and now I'm focusing on like the next challenge that I've been wanting to do, which is new construction luxury flips, and I'm going to use those proceeds as I continue to build that skill set to then buy more, and then eventually is I want to start paying down those mortgages so that I can have less debt and more cash flow.
All right. And I think that matches what Calvin you've been saying. Buy, flip, hold.
Lip hold, man.
I'm listening. I'm listening. Don't think I ain't just up here. Yeah, I'm listening. But you and Benito, I mean, Zay, you flip too. So let's talk about the block, buy, flip, hold.
Yeah.
Calvin, started off with that one right there.
So buy, flip, hold is something that um I've always been doing it, but I just packaged it better. Um, a lot of times when a lot of people get into real estate, we learn a strategy, right? I mean, let's just be honest. Everybody learn a strategy, whether if it's the Burr method, whether if it's buy and hold, whether if it's build to rent, build to flip. They are strategies, and a lot of them are good. The Burr method, I believe, is good for growth. Get in, start growing, but at some point you got to pump the brakes and get off because what happens is that you're building all this debt, and you're not really transitioning the debt to a profit strategy, right? With buy flip hold, I realized that you keep going. If I kept going to the bank from the first time I did real estate all the way up until today, I will be indebted to the bank forever. So now with my system, I'm taking single family homes, I'm fixing them up, I'm putting them on the market, I'm flipping them. Remember, the number one selling product in real estate is a single family home. I sell that home, $50,000, $80,000, 90, 100, whatever profit comes off of that. I run that through a 1031 exchange. Here's the reason why is because when I bought the property, I turned it into a rental. So 1031 exchange says the rule and regulation of 1031 exchange is as long as you're buying the same exact type of property or greater value, you can defer the taxes. You don't eliminate taxes where a lot of people get misconstrued. You defer the taxes, but I'm all right with that, right? Because I can't take taxes to the grave anyway, right? So I'm all right with that. So I'm deferring my taxes. Then I take them out of the 1031 exchange. I'm going to run it through the IUL. When I run it through the IUL, I'm parking my money in an asset that's producing, that's not a building. It's not real, it's not the bricks, but it's producing. Most people take their flip money and they park it into a bank. And the bank don't give you nothing but 0.0025% or even 0.03% at a max, right? And then even if you get a high yield account at 1, 2%, it's still not enough. I'm getting 9, 10, 11% in my IUL. Then I take that money out and then I buy my hold. So now essentially, when you get to the point where you say, I want $15,000, $20,000 cash flow each month. Now I'm going to stop my growth. I'm gonna put a pause on the growth. I'm not going to stop it. I'm going to put a pause on the growth. And now when I flip, I'm going to take the proceeds out the flip, run it through the profit strategy, and then take it out. And then I'm dumping it on the back end of the lowest performing property that I have in order to get the debt down. Then after 1 to 2 years, I'm doing a term and rate refi. So now I just increase my cash flow. If I continue this system as I'm going, I'm dropping my debt down and I'm increasing my cash flow. That's why buy, flip, hold is not a strategy. It's a system, right? You make the money on a buy. We all know that. You make the money on a buy. That's where the money's at. But you keep the money on the management, the process, and the systems. And that's why buy, flip, hold is the number one product and the number one system you can use in real estate today. If you're not doing buy, flip, hold, you're going to run into a roadblock somewhere. And you're going to figure it out later that I should have been doing buy, flip, hold.
Okay. Zay, with your flips, what's your goal with those? The flips that you're doing?
So I'm just fixing them up, relisting them. I gotta go sit down and go to dinner with Calvin, man. um, yeah. So I'm just right now. I've been using a lot of private money, so I got a lot of private money, lenders on deals, and I'm just giving them returns on the money. However, it takes 6 to 8 months, so give them like a 10% return to 15% return, depending on the deal, depending on the state that we're doing that flip. And that's pretty much what I've been doing lately. So in this area where I'm in the New York and Northern Jersey area, and then also in the Savannah market in Georgia.
Okay. Okay. But Benito, I know you touched upon doing luxury flips. What got you into that? Was it the passion? Is it the spread? Is it a combination of multiple things?
So I mean, like from the get, I knew like I wasn't gonna be trying to live off of my rental income. I want to build reserves, right? I build quick. I got a lot of debt. I know things are going to need to be serviced, in the near future, and I want to be able to have those reserves. So flipping for me is one, it's fulfilling like the desire to do construction. I love to do construction. I love that luxury flips are going to give me a little bit more like flexibility. I get to choose different choices. Doing the rentals, it gets really boring because you're doing the same stuff over and over. So like it's going to give me that ability to expand like different things that I'm able to do. I'm going to be able to one do that, then two, I'm going to be able to like want use that to live off of and also to like then start paying down some of this debt or acquire more, right? Like I want to get to 50 units. That's my goal. Like short term is to get to that 50 units, but I'm not in a rush. So just that's been my goal. And then also like the margins are better, right? Like you have to learn how to build and I think your margins are going to be good.
No, dope, dope. I think that's a good, very, very good plan. Now, I got one more question, and then I'm gonna need Calvin to break down this IUL joint. But let's get to this last question. Um, if I looked at your portfolio, what's the biggest mistake you admit is still in your portfolio right now? And we'll start with Benito.
I don't know. I mean, biggest. So repeat the question one more time.
Yeah, no problem. If I looked at your portfolio right now, what's the biggest mistake you'll admit is still sitting in your portfolio?
I mean, I would say like biggest mistake is probably like the earlier stuff that I was buying, right? I was just buying in, D neighborhoods, C- neighborhoods, and I mean that's where the deals were coming, so that's where I was doing them. But I would say like I don't know, I'm not necessarily like you know from a cash flow perspective, they're not the greatest. They're good assets. I think I built them decent. But I think from a cash flow perspective, I don't necessarily like love those properties, you know. That's what I would say. Like that's the biggest weakness in my portfolio.
Is your portfolio mix of DCBA or right now?
Yeah, yeah. Probably like the highest I have is like
Okay.
B.
And were the Bs coming on a little bit later or were they there?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. So like as I started, like first year I was just head down, just buying whatever I could, putting in the reps. But then like probably like second year, I started thinking more like strategically, like maybe I want to switch to areas where it's going to appreciate more, like potentially appreciate more, but they're still cheap enough. Or two, where the rent rolls are just better, right? Where I'm going to get potentially better quality tenants and people that are going to stay longer term. It's still going to appreciate. So like I've kind of started switching like my strategy. Like Calvin, it's probably like, when we're looking at Section 8, we're looking at charts, we're looking at group 1 through 5. Before I used to buy group 1 through 2, and now I'm like 3 and above. So if I can find them, that's where I'm gonna do the deals.
Nah, dope, dope. Let me bring it to Zay. You got
Oh,
anything in your portfolio right now you need to
oh,
admit?
yes, something's doing terrible that will be getting listed this month.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk
Yeah.
about it.
It's just a headache. And one thing I learned, Pennsylvania also is those utility bills, they're expensive, man. So this property, I jumped out the gate. I should have just did a little more homework. It was an off-market deal with the seller. I mean, I was in contact with him for like 2 years. Then one day he reached out wanting to sell it. I kind of just jumped the gun, purchased it. But utilities is not separate. Water meters is not separate. Water bills is killing me. So I mean, that place definitely got to go.
Right. It's something you plan on listing ASAP, huh?
Yeah, ASAP. Yeah, I
So,
had it
oh,
for about
go
two
ahead.
years now, and then I got to do the Calvin method every 30 days. I get lazy, and then like I said, each year. So this year, I'm like, whoa, all right, we got to get rid of this out the portfolio and probably
In a
1031 exchange into something else.
perfect. In a perfect world, what are you looking if you were to sell that for what you think it would list that? What's that spread look like? Decent? You don't got to say the number or whatnot, but what's it
Decent.
looking like?
It'd probably be like a $60,000 spread
All right.
from what I purchased it for.
2 years. That,
Appreciate it. Yeah,
that's a good investment right there.
yeah.
Especially on to get rid of it right now to be able to get 60 off of it.
But I originally did it with the Burr method. That's I put some money into it also.
Hmm. Okay.
So
Okay.
it's just neighborhood utilities are just not working out.
It's not clicking. All right.
Not clicking. Yep.
Did you undershoot what the utilities were going to be?
Yeah, I
Okay.
did. And then you know how some of these sellers do. Oh, this is good. They send you bills. Stuff not adding up, and now I'm in this, and I'm like, whoa, these numbers is not making sense at all. But you
No,
learn from it, right?
no.
So,
We're getting better every single day. Nah,
yep.
I appreciate you sharing that. Calvin, what's good? Let me get one.
Hey man, I would say, and this is probably the biggest lesson that most investors do. I mean, we all go through it. I mean, if anybody's denying it, then they just not really being transparent. It's over leveraging your refis. At one point I was doing 75% refis, and I don't do them anymore. So now I'm down to 60%,
Mm,
60, 65%. If I have to. In some places I don't pull no cash out at all. Because it's just not worth it anymore in today's market. But a lot of people, pull out 75, 80%. I was one of those guys that was sold on that. You know what I mean? Like years ago, I was to get the property, do the Burr method, pull out 75%, take that money, put some in my pocket, go buy the next property. But then guess what happens is that, and same thing that Zay was saying, that here's what investors don't realize when it comes to the business of real estate. Taxes is never going down. Taxes is never going down. So in the city of Philadelphia, our mayor came in and she just damn near doubled the taxes. So the properties that I may have had that was cash flowing, $450, $500 a door, now the taxes is double. And what happens if you have a mortgage and people don't do the 30-day analyzing your door, your escrow account kicks in because your mortgage company pays that high tax and you don't see it, you don't pay attention to it. So now your PITI inflates. So now that's tapping into your cash flow. The other side of that is insurance goes up every year. So one of the things that we do is that on this property analyzation, every year I have an insurance broker 2 months before their policy is up. I make them search around and give me the best insurance. I just saved $7,000 across my entire portfolio as a total in insurance fees for the year. All because I took the opportunity to do that. Like some people just get that notice in the mail and be like, oh, it's going up $15. No big deal. But that's $15 times 70, 80 doors. You know what I'm saying? So you got to be more mindful that when you do these cash out refis, people doing it for today, but they're not considering tomorrow. You know what I'm saying? 2, 3 years down the line, when your taxes done went up 5, 6, 7%, when your insurance went up 4, 5, 6, 7%, you still got that same cash flow. And the rent is not going to combat the increases that the government do. And if you do try to combat it with the rental increases, you're going to constantly have turnovers. So as you increase in the rents, people moving out. So now it's going to cost you another 3,500, 4,000 just to get the unit back up. You already in the red already. So my biggest issue of some lessons that I've taken is thinking that the 75% cash out refi was the way to go. It's not the way to go. It's not the way to go. I got properties that I did it, 15, 16 years ago that I was cash flowing heavy, 500 a door. I'm down to almost 375 a door because of the expenses in the city. So that's the biggest challenge.
Benito, have you been seeing the taxes double recently?
Not in all the areas. I think it depends on like the area. Like the better the area you go, like the higher the taxes go. Like the when you go in the hood, they go up a couple $100. You don't even feel it too much. But yeah, I think like the better neighborhoods, they go up drastically. Like you said, like double. Sometimes you see a $2,000 increase. It's like
Two
whoa,
thousand
people gotta
dollars?
Yeah,
Oh
yeah.
shit! Okay.
My taxes went from $2,100 to $4,300 across the board.
Damn. Damn. All right. Um. So the thing about that question I want to touch upon for myself is, so my mentality was I'm gonna get these properties and I'm gonna hold them for as long as possible. And I'd be lying to say if I have some that I'd be like, damn, maybe I should move, maybe I should sell these. You know what I mean? But the thing that, and you guys can help me out here. The thing I think about is when I was an agent and I was helping people sell during COVID, I was seeing all these checks they was getting. They was getting 100 grand, 150 grand. I'm like, and they were like, yo, yeah, we brought this in 2011. So only thing they did is held on to it, and then the market boomed, and then they got big checks from it. Either they scaled up or whatever they did. So my mentality from there was like, all right, I'm gonna hold on to stuff. And then whenever that next boom is 5, 10, 20 years from now, I'm gonna wait to unload things then. Then I start hearing different investors talk, and I'm like, damn it, am I hurting my own self by some of these that I may be dragging across the finish line? Is it better that I just let these go right now and put the equity that I can make off of these into a better property right now, even though I'll probably be buying something on the market, maybe not as a good a deal, but that would take care of the down payment that I have. So I'm trying to figure it out for myself, and I'm happy I'm on with guys like you and everything I'm doing on these episodes. What's my path? Because for me, I don't even got a path right now. I'm accumulating properties when there's deals. If I see something that's a flip, I may do 1 or 2 flips, but I don't know what my 100% end goal is. With everything that I'm saying, I don't want to make this a therapy session. What do you guys think about that? What I'm saying?
I,
Nothing.
I,
Well,
I mean, well, so here's the thing, right? Nobody's promised tomorrow, right? And I'm probably the most seasoned age person on the call, right? So a reality check got to kick in at some point, right? I got more time behind me than I got in front of me. That's just reality.
mhm.
Sometimes when you look at, should I sell, should I hold, you really got to have a game plan, right? The biggest shell shocker that came to me was you got to ask yourself this very important question, and I pose this question to everybody here. What you building it for? Who you building it for? Because when you think about that and you really let it sink in, like, but years ago we would all say, "Oh, I'm building it to pass it on to my family. I'm building it on to pass it on to my kids. I want my kids to have something." Really? Do you think your kids really gonna want to do what you did? Like you put 20, 15, 20, 30, 40 years in building up this real estate portfolio, this mastermind, this cash flow machine. You pass away and your kids sell it because they don't know how to run it, right? You got all these doors. I tell people that got 200, 300 doors, you are setting your family up for disaster. So you got to think to yourself, what is my end goal? Most people who build businesses build them to sell them. It's only a few people who try to hold on to businesses and don't sell them. The purpose of a business is not to keep it forever. Somewhere, somehow, whether if it's your generation or the next generation, somebody's selling it. So you got to take a reality check and say to yourself, who am I building this for? And what am I building it for? Am I building it for right now so I can enjoy my life? Remember, wealth ain't money, right? People might say, oh, I'm a millionaire. I'm rich. I'm rich. I'm wealthy. You're not wealthy. Rich is money. Wealth is time. Rich is the money that has the key to open up the opportunity of wealth. Wealth is time. How much time you got left? That's wealth. So when you're building these portfolios, when you got to make these decisions, you got to say to yourself, my son, 14 years old, is he going to want to run a 200 portfolio of real estate? Probably not. He TikToking right now. So he not worried about no real estate portfolio, right? And then by the time he get to 18, 19, 20, 21, guess what? He might just say, listen, I want to be an engineer. I want to do this. I want to do that. I don't want to do real estate. So I always pose this to people: build what's sustainable for you, have your goal in mind, what's for you, and leave your family a ticket. And what I mean by a ticket is leave them some money. Let them make the decisions they're going to make. Because you building that business does not mean that they're going to carry it. So do you hold on and let it build up equity and sell it? That depends on what your end strategy is. Do you sell now and buy something that's more valuable in assets? It depends on what your lifestyle is right now that you might got to move that asset. But don't hold on to nothing thinking that you're going, that you promised tomorrow, because you're not. You're not. So I always say real estate, you got to think and make decisions today about what's going to affect you tomorrow without you in it. And that's how you got to think of that. That's how you make your decision.
And that's kind of crazy that you said that, Calvin, because majority of deals, like, you're an investor. We don't like to buy nothing on the market, everything under market value.
Yep.
Majority of the deals I pick up is either A,
And the
parents,
kids.
built all this, the kids don't want it, or B, it's the kids, they don't know what to do with it. I'm not dealing with this. And that's where majority of investors get the deals from, which is
Sure,
crazy.
fact. That's fact. That's
Just think
facts.
about it.
I say, personally, that's majority of my off-market deals is situations just like that.
And think about it like this: you're building your portfolio for somebody else to do the same exact
Yeah,
thing that you
I
do.
have to do the same thing.
That's exactly what you're doing. You know what
Yeah.
I'm
No, that's true.
saying?
So this has been a phenomenal discussion. And I appreciate all you guys jumping on. We're gonna touch on that IUL though. But what I want to do real quick is um Zay, for 2026, and how can people reach out to you for 2026? I'll ask you this question, and also at the end, let people know how they can reach out to you. Do you think 2026 is a good year for people who are new investors to buy? We'll start it like that, then go to Benito, then go to Calvin, and Calvin, you can end with that, and then end with that IUL. Just give a little bit, and then we'll end the whole discussion like that. So the floor is yours, Zay.
I mean, it's always a good time to buy, right? If the deal makes sense, no matter how the market shifts, yeah, you got to pay attention a little bit. But again, as investors, you should always be buying under market value, deals that make sense and the numbers that work. How they can reach me, Takeover Estates, so TAKEOVER _estates, Instagram, TikTok. And if you want to shoot me an email, takeoverestates@gmail.com.
2026, I would say, yeah, it's a good time to buy. I mean, like Zay said, you know, if the deal makes sense, it's always a good time to buy. I think if for 2026, I'm seeing a lot of opportunity. Like a lot of deals that I'm getting are like phenomenal deals. And you got to be ready. You have to allow yourself to receive the opportunity. If you don't, you're gonna miss them. So, yeah, I would definitely say it's a good time to buy for new investors. Even them, you still got to overcome that fear aspect and just hop into it. So put in your reps. Um, so yeah, if you want to reach me, I'm Benito underscore Contreras 13 on Instagram, and that's pretty much it.
For me, I would say 2026, uh, it don't matter the year. It is always a great time to buy. It's always a great time to buy. Um, what I will say that's different in 2026 though is stop buying with a strategy and start buying with systems. Um, Understand what your end game is. Don't just buy because somebody said that, this neighborhood is hot or this strategy is hot. Really look at your system. What's your system? What's your process? Don't just do real estate as a hustle. Learn real estate as a business because everything that you build, if you don't build the business aspect, is going to collapse because you don't have a foundation, right? So buy in a year, but just understand as a business and approach it like a business. Um, you want to reach me, you can reach me at, Calvin Cannon Jr. on all social media platforms. And the last thing I would say is two things is one, get you a coach and a mentor. Stop trying to do this off of YouTube. Stop trying to do this from just watching and listening to information. Really tap into somebody. You got four people on this call right now. You can tap into any one of us. We're all knowledgeable, all of us. So tap into somebody. If you're watching this video, if you're trying to get information, call somebody, shoot them a message. Hey, listen, I need to learn this, and this. Get to the next level, but stop trying to do it by yourself. Get some help. Get somebody that's doing or is at where you're trying to go. All right. IUL real quick. I'll just jump into this real quick. Won't give you a lot, but I'm gonna give you enough, right?
Give us
So
enough. Give us
yeah, I'm
enough.
gonna give you enough.
Sure.
So one of the major things right now is that a lot of people sleep on is life insurance is not for when you die. Life insurance is exactly what it says. It's for you to enjoy your life while you're here. So everybody should get a life insurance policy. And if you're not sure how to get that, that's something you can Google. That's something you can look on YouTube and different platforms. But go to my life insurance is through State Farm, right? But you can compare it to a lot of different life insurance companies. But get your life insurance policy, like get it tomorrow. If you can spend money going out, turn up with your life and get life insurance, right? The other thing is, I'm not an advocate of banks. I do use, hard money private lenders to do my real estate. But when it comes to me and my finances, I don't park my money in banks. I park my money in life insurance policies. And the reason why is because I want my money to work for me, right? When you park your money inside the bank, it's not working for you. You park if we all went to the bank and dropped $10,000 in the bank. Today is Wednesday, and we all met up to go get our money out the bank on Friday. Guess what? Some of us might be able to get the $10,000 out, and some of us might got to schedule an appointment to order the money, right? Sometimes you just can't walk in the bank and get your money, but it's your money. So when I realized that I'm giving a financial institution my money to put in a life insurance policy, let that sink in, right? The lender is FDIC insured. The word insured is of insurance policy. So once you figure that portion out, you got to cut out the middleman, right? And now instead of me dropping my money in the bank, I'm going to the IUL. Inside the IUL, you have different ways, and you got to just get the right person to set it up right. My IUL is my bank. I park all my money in the IUL. I let it sit for 30 to 45 days. I pull the money out of the IUL, and to be very transparent, and so you can understand this, when you pull the money out is a loan, right? Now, some people might be like, why would I want a loan against my own money? Why not? When you pull your money out the bank, you get nothing. You get zero. If I put in 50, I take out 50, nothing is a wash. I put in 50 in the IUL, I take out 50. Let's say the loan is $200 a month, $300 a month, but the money is still parked in the IUL, is parked. So the $50,000 is still there as if it's working, right? So now I take the 50,000, I go do my investments, whether if it's real estate, stocks, whatever you're going to do, I'm doing my investments. Let's hypothetically say that you hit a roadblock. If I took out $50,000 from a lender and I missed the payment, what's going to happen to me? My credit score going to tank. I'm getting threatening phone calls, right? I'm looking bad to the lender. If I take out $50,000 out my IUL and I decide not to make a payment 1 month, who coming for me? It's my money. It's my loan. Nobody's coming to check me. Now, I don't recommend it because you want to pay the money back. Because if something happens to you, now you got the money out in the street. So let's just say your life insurance policy was $1 million and you took out $100,000. Well, now you have, 900,000 instead of that million because you have the 100,000 out in the street, but you're still going to get paid. Your family's still going to get paid off the life insurance. But I do recommend paying it back if everybody understands that. So I don't park my money into financial institutions that don't do anything for me. I park my money into a financial institution that works for me. Remember, you are the business. You are walking, talking LLC. You are walking, talking LLC. So you got to conduct yourself like a business. And that's how you win with the IUL.
Gave us more than enough. We appreciate that. We appreciate it. Well, for you and Benito, I don't know. Zay, do you have a mentorship?
No.
No, not yet. How about that? Not yet. Yeah. So if you guys want to reach out, Calvin has one, Benito has one. They gave you your social media tags. So definitely check in with them. Check in with Zay, doing big things out in his region. And this is what real estate conversations look like. We ain't on here trying to do clickbait saying, yo, you can't make money in real estate. We ain't doing none of that nonsense. What we really talking about, we're talking about making money. We're talking about planning. We're talking about strategy. And I appreciate these guys jumping on. Once again, this is Behind the Doors. I need you guys to click, subscribe. We're going to be putting a lot of more content like this. I got these guys on camera, so I'm going to ask them this question. You guys coming back? Can we get another episode?
Whatever you need, brother. Listen,
Ah,
Of course.
damn. So it's on camera. So, if you don't see them next time, they're not a man of their word. But other than that, we're going to check you on the next one. So I appreciate everyone tuning in, and we out.
Peace.